now listening to theGrio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Dear Culture, the podcast for, by, and about Black culture. And I'm joined today by a special guest, somebody that needs no introduction, especially if you keep up with any work that I've ever done in my life, well, as long as I've been a writer, I suppose. And considering the topic, it also makes a lot of sense. We are joined today by the homie, one of my best friends, my brother, a third of, and eventually the other half of the Very Smart Brothers team, Damon Young. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good. That's some really good and quick math that you did, going from a third to half. And
I had to think about it too.
Such quick succession. So I appreciate whatever school system, taught you how to do that type of math. So thank you for that. And I appreciate it to be here. It's great to see you. You know what I mean? It's great to be on, Dear Culture. The reason why we're on is is a little complicated, but
perhaps
it's great. It's great to be seen.
Well, the reason why we're here, but before that, because I did your bio a brief disservice. So everybody knows us as the team from Very Smart Brothers, but since then you are now a Washington Post columnist and advice columnist. You write both a weekly column and is it a weekly advice column as well?
Yeah.
Okay. You have an award-winning book, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker. You're working on more books. You have a podcast, a Spotify exclusive podcast called Stuck with Damon Young. You killing it, bro. You out here doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm proud of you.
I just don't want to be broke again. That's all that people offer me opportunities, and I'm like, how much is it paying? I just keep saying yes. Like
I just don't want to be broke. Sounds like a good title for a book.
Yeah, I have no business doing this advice column, but it's like, what I can do it and offer me somebody to do it, so I can fit under the umbrella. Why not?
That brutal honesty is a trademark. It's an admirable skill, and not skill. It's an admirable trait. And it speaks directly to why we are gathered here today. We are here to talk about one Kanye Omari West, somebody who every couple years decides to blow up everything he ever seems to have built, test the goodwill and test the loyalties of all of his fans, maybe. And I realize that's a loaded statement because I don't know if it's actually true. But every so often, something happens that Kanye is a part of. He becomes the center of. He goes on these social media rants. It's like Kanye's mind opens up for the world to participate in for a while before he gets reined in by somebody. I don't know who it is, but right now we're in the midst of this, and this is all spurred by things. He has a deal with Adidas and the Gap that he's trying to get out of, and he's fighting with them, and and he's dealing with his ex-wife Kim Kardashian and the custody issues with his kids. He's doing all of this publicly. And he capped this off by going to Paris Fashion Week and debuting his Yeezy Season 9 collection. And he included a shirt that had Pope John Paul, I can't remember which one it is. I apologize for that. I should know that. One of the popes on the front, but on the back is with the part that everybody's talking about that says White Lives Matter. Then a picture gets shared of him with Candace Owens, her looking lovingly at Kanye, which is more of a troll to the black community, while he's face forward, but she's wearing a white shirt that says White Lives Matter. He has on a black one that says White Lives Matter. The internet erupts. The Kanye West Gaslight Tour commences. He goes on Tucker Carlson. We are filming this on the day after he does the first round of interviews on Tucker Carlson, which was an insanely interesting and fascinating, bewildering interview in and of itself. So that's why we're gathered here to talk about Kanye. There's so much to unpack. But let me ask you to start this off. Where are you with Kanye West right now? Like wherever you stand with Kanye musically as a pop culture figure, where are you with Kanye West right now?
I mean, I feel like my visceral response to everything that he's doing right now is boredom. Like this isn't interesting. Like when you were saying that it was like I watched the interview this morning to prepare to prep for this because when it was on last night, I didn't have any interest in listening to him on Tucker Carlson. And so I watched the interview, and it's like, it's like you're playing pinball, and the ball's just going everywhere, here and there. I mean, he's citing Tonya Harding, and I don't
Very
remember
odd reference.
Harding come up in a conversation.
Because if you ask like Tonya Harding how she did the triple flip or the triple spin, she was in so much practice that when it was time for her to skate in a competitive format, it just happened. Like it happened outside of practice. It happened in the real format.
He's basically subbing his mom, not even subbing his mom, but blaming
that was direct shots.
The entire interview. And now, with all these bars of praise for his dad, which I have never heard before from him. And again, maybe I just haven't been listening to the interviews and stuff, but it's just very, it's predictably unpredictable. It's like, he's a provocateur, or he fashions himself to be one of those, a free thinker, and because there's not like a real rigor behind this thought or a real consistency behind a thought, you could predict where he's going to go, right? And I feel like even the reactions that have existed online in the last week and a half about the White Lives Matter shirt and about Kanye, like I don't think anyone else really gives a shit about him either. Like I think Kanye and culture right now, if we take aside from his music and his clothes, he exists as someone to build social capital off of. Because again, I don't think that he's swaying anybody. I think people who are out on Kanye have been out on Kanye, and I think people who are, the bad faith, the people who are just latching for any sort of, cool person to vocalize like a certain right wing or a certain conservative viewpoint are latching on to him. It's like, oh shit, we finally got someone, right? We finally got someone who is cool and who is relevant and who is on our side. But I don't think that he is moving the zeitgeist. He's influencing the culture in any way with his actions.
Now that I agree with.
I think that people already have their minds made up about him. And so again, I think now his primary function is, okay, I have this hot 120 character bar about Kanye. I say it and I get 3,000 retweets.
So I agree with you that I don't think he's actually, none of these actions I think are impacting culture. I do think they are, you said a lot, so I'm going to try to get to a couple of those things. Sure. I think if it's boring, it's only boring because it's Kanye, and Kanye's already done this before. The script on Kanye already exists. Because I don't think any of this is boring on its face, but because it's Kanye doing it, it's like, here he goes again, right? Like, here he goes. I don't think this is culturally impactful. I'm not even sure I agree with that it's as dangerous as everybody wants to label it. But I do push back a little bit on the idea that he's not losing. Like, for me, the White Lives, it was a bridge too far. Like, I still listen to Kanye's music. Even, we've talked about this stuff, and that's part of the reason I wanted to bring you on here, too, is because we talk about Kanye all the time, right? Like, whenever Kanye drops an album, we talk about it. Like, we have in-depth discussions about it. We talk about how we're going to write about it and where we're going to do. We have these conversations. We've been doing that for years, right? Because Kanye's been part of our cultural conversations and part of the cultural, like, zeitgeist for so long that when he releases music, it's an event. It's something that happens that everybody has to pay attention to. The provocateur end of it, this feels like the high end of his provocateurs, whatever. Like, this is literally the N-words in Paris thing. Like, why are you doing this? And watching the Tucker Carlson interview, where he basically said, even though he really didn't answer the question, but he basically said, it felt like the right thing to do at the time was nonsense. Even his dad's response, like a black man stating the obvious. I'm like, man, your dad is obtuse too. And I don't want to talk about nobody's parents, but it just seems it seems like such an odd thing to use as a way of stealing the spotlight from everything else you're trying to, or getting attention. It's like the ultimate in attention-seeking behavior.
I do certain things from a feeling. I just channel the energy. It just feels right. It's using a gut instinct, a connection with God, and just brilliance.
But it's like it was a bridge too far for me. Like, I don't know. Like, it puts him in R. Kelly territory for me. It's like, you know what? I just can't even deal with your music anymore. Like, I just can't. And you and I had this discussion, and that's where I want to go with it. I was like, does this impact his musical legacy in a way, or does it impact his musical legacy at all? Because I said it did. I think it impacts his legacy because I don't think I can engage with his music anymore. But you had a different response. So we're going to take a real quick break right here. And we're going to come back and we're going to jump into that part of the conversation about Kanye and what he's doing now if it impacts his musical legacy. Stay tuned here on Dear Culture.
The Griot Black Podcast Network is here, and it's everything you've been waiting for. News, talk, entertainment, sports, and today's issues, all from the Black perspective. Ready for real talk and Black culture amplified? Be inspired. Listen to new and established voices now on the Griot Black Podcast Network. Listen today on the Griot mobile app and tune in everywhere great podcasts are heard.
All right, we're back here on Dear Culture. I'm joined today by my guest, Damon Young. We're talking Kanye West, Yeezy or Ye, depending on who's referring to him, I suppose. And we're talking about the shenanigans that he's been going through the past few months, the things that he's been bringing to the public directly, culminating with his White Lives Matter shirt at the Paris Fashion Week show for the debut of his Season 9 Yeezy line. A shirt that he put black models in, including Selah Marley, who is Lauryn Hill's daughter. And I'm going to try to get to that eventually too. But I contend that this impacts his musical legacy because now I think that people aren't thinking about his music when they think about Kanye anymore at all. What do you think? Does this impact his musical legacy at all? Does this matter at all, period, for the legacy of Kanye?
I go back to my first response about, I think people, and I think that you're an exception. I think that in terms of someone who's like, you know what, this is the last straw. I think people done drew their last straws already. But yeah, I mean, there's I don't consider this to be any more egregious than wearing the red cap and hugging up on Trump and saying that he feels like a superhero when he wears the Make America Great Again hat or the slavery was a choice. Right, I feel like slavery as a choice is worse than this.
When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all?
I feel like that, if we're talking in terms of egregiousness, that was the pinnacle. And now this is just some provocateur fuck shit, right? And so, again, I don't think that, I just don't see this as being something that, again, that moves the needle in any way. It just is a thing that people are going to be able to respond to. And to that end, I also disagree with your analogy to R. Kelly. Okay. Just because, when you're in that territory, I mean, R. Kelly's a criminal who needs to be in
It's a reach, I'll admit.
In prison. Kanye has done and said some really dumb and reckless shit, but he is not at that level of criminality, right?
Fair.
So I think that you could still listen to Kanye's music and not feel like you're going to hell also.
But so
right?
I guess
because R. Kelly's going to, if hell exists, R. Kelly is going.
If there's a hell below, R. Kelly's gonna go.
But if hell exists, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. I mean, for what we know of the Christian idea of hell, that's where they will be, right?
So part of my pushback on that is, or part of the reason I said this, so you're right. Like, on its face, I think, as an analogy, taking it at face value, I don't disagree with that. I think I view it in the sense of, it kind of makes me wonder who in the world that Kanye was that was releasing all that music before. Like this version of Kanye, like I guess I don't really know. We have gone through like 9 lives of Kanye West, right? Like who he is as a human, like where he started versus where he is now seems like a complete 180. But I wonder if that's even true because he's been on this Trump thing since 2016, but he releases like he's been releasing music and so I guess I just when I listen to it, I'm wondering if everything he's saying is even real to him. Like so that's what I mean. I guess when I'm listening to, I'm wondering who I'm actually listening to. But well, you're right. It might be a stretch. It might be a bridge too far to compare him to R. Kelly in that sense.
Well, you made a really astute point a couple years ago when talking about you might have said this in an essay or in a conversation that we had. I forgot which it was, but you said that he's a legitimately untethered person, and that whoever is around him, whoever is saying yes to him, whoever is giving him validation, that's who he is going to follow. That's who he is going to, I don't know, try to break bread with or align himself with. Right. And so, I hate when people come, bring up his mom and, attach her as like some sort of catalyst for whatever. But I do think there is some truth there to her being his tether at some point, and then losing her and then searching for, another sort of tether and just going wherever there is. It's crazy because he is, fashioning himself to be his provocateur, but he is like saying things, and it's like, whoever agrees with me, right? He's a provocateur who's following the path of least resistance, right? Because these people agree with what I'm saying, so I'm going to lean in. I'm going to follow through with these people, and so I think. There are some parts of Kanye that have remained consistent. Like young Kanye was just as hedonistic, perhaps even misogynistic as recent Kanye, his music isn't really that, but some of just the weirdness about women and about shame and about bodies and about sex, that has always existed. It's just yes. Kind of transmuted and taken a different form. Like a homegirl of mine pointed that out in like 2016, 2006, 2007. Remember, Ye had that remix, Throw Them D's on it.
Yeah, we're talking about Alicia Keys. Yeah, but yes.
Cute chick living good down here in Hollywood, upcoming actress, but she got a flat chest. That'll give her access.
Yeah, and I just thought it was really funny, really clever. But she was like, how come he is always so funny and so clever and so like, I guess, so clowning and dismissive when he's talking about women? How come he doesn't have these funny and clever or whatever bars about anything else? Right. And that was the first time that I was like, yeah, you're right. And that has been a consistent thing throughout Kanye's career. The only one of the main differences is that his music was a bit more fun back then, and now, particularly, with Yeezus and the things that come after that, there's been a bit more bite to it and a bit more untetheredness to it. And so the misogyny and the hedonism, and those things are separate. I don't want to conflate hedonism with misogyny, but I think he kind of has both of those things.
I mean, he does effectively. Yeah. I mean, for him, and they're kind of they do go. I agree with that. They do kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, and so that part of Ye has always kind of been there. And again, I think that just to go back to what you were saying, he whoever I don't know whoever plants the biggest flag for him is where he's going to go.
So do you think this will keep? So he releases Donda. Was that last year? Was that earlier this year? I don't even remember.
I think that was last year.
Okay, so
2021.
Okay. Mm-hmm. He releases Donda. he does it in the way that requires you to pay attention, where it's not just a straight up release. It's done in these like he creates. One thing I'll give him credit for, and I think you have to, like, his ideas when it comes to his art and the delivering of his art tend to be very interesting, evocative. Like, he makes you pay attention. He's an event artist like that. So you don't think this stuff impacts that at all? Like, you think basically he's weeded out all of the people who are already like, I can't deal with this dude anymore, aside from me, who's who's upset because I'm looking at my shoes. I'm looking at my Yeezys. I'm like, I can't even wear these now. Like, I can't even wear my Yeezys anymore, which is a shame because they're very comfortable. That Boost technology in them Yeezys is exceedingly comfortable. So they're like perfect for people who are getting older and you want to be on your feet a lot. But it's like, I don't even want to wear my shoes anymore right now. I'm like, I actually went back and listened to I Love Kanye, because the whole like old Kanye thing, I was like, the person that made this doesn't even seem like the same person that I watched on Tucker Carlson yesterday. Like, he seems like a completely different human being. Almost like that other Kanye doesn't exist anymore. And I think that's the struggle I'm having with this, and why I'm just like, this is a bridge too far. It's like, the person that I see now, I don't recognize. Like, even when Kanye made the slavery is a choice thing, I almost feel like he made the statement, but I don't think he realized what he was saying. Like, I genuinely don't think he understood what he was saying, because I feel like Kanye says and does a lot of things and he doesn't get it. I feel like this White Lives Matter thing was intentional. It was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm about to throw this in everybody's face. Nobody can constrain me to their thoughts. Nobody can. I hate when people do that, right? I won't be controlled by the masses and the media and all this nonsense. Like, it's basically an excuse to say something ridiculous, right? Or say or do something that flies in the face of convention or whatever. But like, I feel like there's probably more people like me out there, but maybe I'm overblowing it. And in which case, then what happens after this? Does it all just die out? Like, does all of this, whatever, just die out as soon as, I don't know, like, if something big happens next week, if Cardi B and who's she beefing with right now? Cardi B and Nicki happen to run into each other and somebody gets punched in the face, do we forget the whole Kanye thing and just move on?
I think that's already starting to happen. Like, and again, I think that this is just part of the Kanye news cycle, where he, every like 5 or 6 months, he has like a week and a half, 2 week span of just, okay, what did Kanye say? What did Kanye do? And then it's just like, okay. And then once that's done, once people are done reacting to it, you just go back to your corner, go back to your life, and continue doing whatever you were doing. I just don't see this recent iteration being that distinct from everything else, or distinct enough from everything else to have like a real tangible impact on how people feel about him. Because I think that how people feel about him has already been settled, mostly. And again, I get where you're coming from too, with your, and everyone has a point where you like, this is it. But I think this is it point has been reached. And I think that there are also people who are like, you know what, I don't fuck with anything he has to say, but I will still listen to his music.
Okay.
And that's where I am. Right,
yeah, no, and that's
those people. Like, I don't bother defending him. I don't it's indefensible. Like, I don't do that. It's the same. I mean, and I probably need to unpack what's happening in my brain. It's the same thing I go through with Kyrie Irving, where I am not jumping out and defending him for anything anymore, but he is still my favorite basketball player to watch. So I think it's a bit of a mercenary sort of fandom, where I just, I compartmentalize, but if either of them were to do something like an R. Kelly level egregious, then I make a change then. But I am wondering, it's like, okay, even before both of them went off their deep ends, they were my favorite. Kanye is my favorite artist. Kyrie is my favorite athlete. And so I've asked myself, what is it what is it in me that drew me to these men who have both eventually, had similar sort of trajectories? Like, what is it just a coincidence, or is there something, that I saw in both of them 10 years ago? Because I've been on Kyrie since.
But you didn't think Kyrie was going to go this direction.
I didn't
10 years
know,
ago, did you?
And I didn't think Kanye would either. But they both did.
Yeah,
they both did. And so, was there something that I saw, something about me or something about them that I saw that I latched onto? And I shared this. I did the Love It or Leave It show a couple days ago, and afterwards I hung out with John and Morgan. Morgan came through, and there are a couple producers from their show, and we were talking about this particular thing. And John made the point that maybe you are attracted to naturally subversive people, right? And Kanye's music, for a while was considered somewhat subversive, in the way Kyrie plays, the way he handles the ball, some of the things he does on the basketball court are subversive. But it's the problem is when they shift that subversion to other places that they have no business being in, right? So they believe that, okay, I've had success being subversive in music and in fashion, or I've had success being subversive in basketball, so that means I can have success being subversive in politics, or I can have success being subversive in, I don't know, in medical and vaccines or whatever too, right? And so when he said that, I was like, oh, that could be that. That could be that, where these people who have a genius, and I appreciate that genius, but the problem is that genius is untethered, and they try to apply it to other parts where they are not genius in, and I think the mark of someone who is truly smart, truly intelligent, is that they realize their limitations.
Well, let me take a quick break there, because I want to actually get into the specific topic on the other side of this break. So stay tuned here on Dear Culture. You are now listening to theGrio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
Don't forget, you can listen to theGrio's Writing Black podcast, hosted by me, Maisha Kai. This isn't your typical writing podcast. We interview any and everybody that has anything to do with writing, from comics to poets to authors to journalists to politicians and more. Remember, that's Writing Black every Sunday right here on theGrio's Black Podcast Network. Download theGrio's app to listen to Writing Black wherever you are.
All right, we're back here on Dear Culture. The guest today is Damon Young. We're talking Kanye West and everything that's been going on with him, specifically this past week with his White Lives Matter shirt, his continued support and uplifting of Candace Owens. But you were talking before the break a bit about like the Kanye Kyrie thing, like in the kind of people that they are and how that like translates into who they've become, like where they started and how when they're privileged, when their fame and their access to money and one of the things that Tucker said was that Kanye said he's one of the richest people on the planet, but he still can't say what he wants, and yet he continues to do so. And Kyrie has done that too. These people hop on and get thousands and thousands of people on IG and all these other places and speak their mind. And I guess I'm curious what you think about how they use their platforms. We're talking about Kanye, but Kyrie, I think, fits into this, using their platforms. Like, that's part of the thing that everybody keeps getting on. Like, these people have all these followers and all these people that actually care about what they say, and they're using it to spit dangerous rhetoric or to be irresponsible. Well, we deem irresponsible because of the access to people that they have. Like, how do you feel about when people say that? Like, do you think that's actually true? Like, is Kyrie Irving presenting a danger? Is Kanye West dangerous for the masses when he does stuff like this? I mean, you think it doesn't really matter, but this fool ends up on Tucker Carlson yesterday. Like, he didn't, I don't even know how that happened, but he gets off the plane from Fashion Week, apparently goes straight to Tucker Carlson. Like, I don't know who made the call first, Tucker or Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Like, And it didn't even seem like a crazy idea that he would be a Tucker Carlson now, right? Now, Kyrie would never. But, you know, I guess you wouldn't put it past him?
I mean, he's you know.
You think he's on that trajectory?
He's sharing Alex Jones in his IG stories.
Oh, he is, isn't he?
Yeah. I wouldn't.
So how do we get here? So that's what I'm saying. Do you think the use of their platforms presents a danger of any sort? The way they're doing it?
My answer is no, right?
Okay.
And I think that I have to, and I think that could be my own blind spots speaking, or answering that, because I just don't see how anyone who has any sort of rigor to their thinking and understanding of the world will be influenced by Kanye West or Kyrie Irving in 2022. Like, I think that if they do have influence, it is other untethered people, and it's also it's also, you know, someone like a Ted Cruz who is just fucking diametrically uncool, right? Seeing like, oh shit, Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, two of the coolest, you know, quote unquote coolest, most relevant people in American culture. They're saying the same things I'm saying, so I'm going to retweet him. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so, yeah, I don't see them. I just don't think either of them have that much power.
Okay.
I think that most people, even, you know, when people talk about, you know, what about the kids? Kids are, we don't give kids enough credit for being able to discern, you know, when coming at them with some fuck shit too, right? And so, you know, the irony, one of the ironies with all of this is that, you know, they both fashion themselves as like provocateurs and radical and free thinking and whatever, and they are just being white men. And like, they're being the most standard, the most rote, the most mundane ass motherfucking shit that they could be, and they're just acting like white men who, you know, don't take any accountability, you know, say the most reckless thing without any sort of historical understanding, believe that they are the smartest person in every room that they're in.
But see, that's the problem, though. I don't think most people are that smart, right? So I think that, like, people like you and I and all of the people who work in these spaces where we're constantly sharing our opinions and writing about it and arguing about it amongst ourselves, like, you could be right. It could be just kind of a sort of an echo chamber of this group of people, that's a large group of people who are always arguing about Kanye West, and the rest of the people don't care that much, right? Like, most people probably, you know, they're going to still wear their Yeezys. They're going to continue to buy them. You know, there was just a Yeezy drop, I think, 2 days ago, and I'm guessing it probably sold out like usual. There will continue to be drops, though it's kind of confusing as to who even makes money off Yeezy anymore, because I don't even know if Kanye is getting any money off of his Yeezy stuff anymore. Like, I genuinely am confused by that, but I guess that's a different talk show. But I think the people that don't care that much, but are paying attention to them because they're either their favorite rapper, the cool that they're attached to is something that they ascribe to personally in their lives, right? Like, Kanye is a king of cool, whether we like it or not, and because of the inroads he's made in fashion and shoes. Like, he's literally that guy, right? Like, he's that guy. Like, you pay attention to what Kanye is doing fashion wise. Like, there's no reason for anybody to wear any of that Balenciaga by Gap nonsense. It's atrocious. And yet, terrible people like Antonio Brown were seen head and toe in this. You know what I mean? Like, people were doing this because they're like, oh, that's what's fashionable now. And I think that stuff transfers into other areas. So I guess, I don't know if I think it's as dangerous. Like, I don't know that I agree, like, nah, it doesn't matter. I don't know if it matters a ton, but I do think there are people who there are people who watch Tucker Carlson who don't pay attention to Kanye. Kanye gets on there last night and starts talking very conservative Christian type things, even though it was very muddled and very nonsensical, and the substantial amount of things he was. I mean, he even did, oddly, there were things that he said that were very, like, anti-white at the same time, right? You know, he's like, man, English is the white man's language. Like, we're sitting here, like, he was saying the things we say about him, about other people. Talk about people, you know, people look for validation for the white man. We don't speak English properly. You know, we're looking for validation on speaking the white man's English, which is not something I haven't said myself on occasion. So it's He's very confusing, but I feel like perhaps there is a bunch of people who might see that interview and be like, you know what, that Kanye West is all right. Now, I don't think they're going to vote for him for president, but, you know, I don't know that he becomes persona non grata. Maybe he opens a whole new market for his products now. I don't know. I don't know if that means anything either. Like, I don't know if that matters.
Well, and that's an important distinction. You know, like maybe he has some sway or some influence over the sort of person who would be watching Tucker Carlson anyway. So maybe it's that. You know, and that's
because Tucker does, right? Tucker Carlson has sway, and we
and
categorically point out all the nonsense that he says, but he matters.
But you know, and I guess when I'm thinking of influence, I'm thinking of people who are right-minded, and not necessarily right-wing minded, but like conscientious and conscious and all of that. And I just don't see either of them having any sort of sway on people like that, or people who are surrounded by people like that. I think that again they are swaying the untethered, right? And people who are just going to go whichever way the wind blows. Whoever has the most charisma, whoever sounds, you know, whoever seems like they're making the most sense.
But that's a lot of people, man, and that's that's a huge segment of the people, and I have to make a distinction between untethered and just people who can be swayed, right? Because untethered kind of speaks to a bit of like chaotic, perhaps like unstable type thing. Like Kanye, I feel like is unstable, right? But a lot of people. Look, people go and vote for a name they've heard without thinking about what it is that they stand for. Like I think, and I don't have any stats to back this up, but I feel like I'm not wrong when I say that a not insignificant amount of people are easily swayed by charm and charisma. And you say that one thing that I like, then I'm on your side, right? Like it doesn't take a whole platform. You know, we tend to view ourselves and people like-minded folks as those who are willing to do the research into understanding the people that we're paying attention to. And that's probably even a reach. Because, I mean, sometimes, you know, if I like somebody, it's simple enough, like, you know what? I like that. That works for me. So, you know, I guess I feel like that sway has a bigger reach because I don't think everybody is that discerning about the information that they process or consume.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the voting thing because I actually wanted to make that point and I lost my train of thought. But so remember when I don't even remember if he actually ran for office or if he threatened running for office during this.
He was on the ballot in a couple states.
He was on the ballot. And there was all this fucking hand wringing about how this is going to hurt Biden and, you know, how this was going to, you know, be something that stood in the way and also, you know, made a clearer path to the White House for Trump. And it's like, yo, there was no one who was thinking I'm going to vote for Joe Biden or Kanye West.
Fair.
Right.
Facts.
Like people who are voting, people who had in their mind to vote for Kanye were either thinking, oh, I'm going to vote for like Trump or Kanye, or I'm not voting at all. Right.
Right. I agree.
He didn't take votes away from motherfucking Joe Biden. Right. And again, I feel like it feels like a cop. Even as I say this, even as I think this, it feels like a cop out, right? But I think that I honestly feel like this is one of them circumstances where talking about him gives him more power than he actually would have other, you know, like people like us talking about him, people like us tweeting about him, people like us writing essays about him, gives him more power than he would get any other way.
All right. You said to me the other day that when we first started talking about this, that you thought a mea culpa moment could fix all of this or something to that effect. Like basically Kanye could, I don't know, he went on Tucker Carlson. So I don't know. I guess he goes on Oprah. Like he appealed to the White Lives Matter folks by going on Tucker Carlson, who now are like, look at that Kanye guy. He's all right. But if I don't know where he goes from here. Like just a couple weeks ago or like last week, he was on Good Morning America talking about Sway did have the answer. You know, like he he's not averse to making a media round to speak on something, because he did that to speak directly about the Adidas Gap situation and, you know, that those relationships that are severing, which seems to be Kanye with every significant relationship that he has. They all seem to sever in some way, shape, or form, corporately or whatever. But
and personally, romantically, I mean, his boys,
yes.
Kid Cudi, his wife, you know, this is a trend with Kanye.
Yes, like they all fall apart.
Every relationship eventually falls apart. And so I just want to say something really quickly too. When I said the mea culpa thing, it was more, I was making the distinction between Kanye and R. Kelly, right?
Okay,
like
all right.
R. Kelly can't apologize. Like, there's nothing he can do
right
now that, yeah, he's going to be like, it's fuck R. Kelly forever. And I think for some people, it's still fuck Kanye forever. But if he were to be like, you know what, I was really fucked up these last 10 years, just last 10 years. and then for the next 10 years, he was like the most conscientious, the most, you know, progressive, the most like sincere, integrity-filled person he could possibly be. But again, that would not, like, R. Kelly could never do that. Bill Cosby can never do that. Like, it's gone. They're gone. Right. And so I don't think that that's going to happen with Kanye, but it was just like hypothetical sort of exercise.
But do you think there's a road for him? Like, so two questions.
A realistic road? Road? No.
Well, let's. I mean, listen, we're on a podcast. We're just talking. I mean, is there a path, a hypothetical path, where he could get back into the good graces of whoever's graces he's fallen out of? Right. I don't know exactly what that demographic looks like. I think it looks a lot like us. But is there a realistic path? And so that's the hypothetical, but also, like, from here, like, what next? Does it all just peter out and it's just a wrap until the next time Kanye decides to go Kanye?
So I have two answers. The first answer is no. I just think he has too much. He just has too much problematic fuck shit happening, and also too much mental illness happening, and those two things combining to create like this fuck shit smoothie that we're all forced to drink right now, right?
You know, we have to bleep all these F-bombs out, but that was hilarious. The smoothie is hilarious. But
but yeah, the mental illness part is something that we haven't really touched. And it's you know, I know that there are people who are like, yeah, that's an excuse. He's not really. So he is legitimately dealing. That doesn't excuse his behavior, but that is a reality, right?
Right.
And so what we're seeing is a person who is mentally ill, who has all of this, you know, wrong-headed, problematic shit existing inside of him, who has unlimited capital, right, and has unlimited platforms. And so you have that combination all together, and it just, realistically, I don't see a way for this, you know, I was about to say for the ship to turn around. It's like a fucking ocean liner for this Titanic to turn around, because it's just, I just don't think that's happening. I think if anything, it would maybe peter out, where his albums will get progressively worse, and maybe his fashion, you know, will get progressively less relevant, and so he has progressively less eyes on him. I don't
think his fashion's that relevant now. Honestly, I think it's his shoes that keep him afloat. Because
shoes are fashion.
No, they are. But what I mean is, outside of his shoes, like, nobody's ever wearing his clothes right now. I don't, and unless Kanye just becomes uncool, like, I think that's the problem. Like, the shoes are gonna be here forever. Like, he changed the shoe game entirely, and you can't undo that, right? Like, I have one of every kind of design of the shoes that he has, and, like, I'm still amazed, like, one, that these are a real thing, but that they took off, but then I also get it, right? So, you know, I don't ever see that actually changing. And I guess that leads to the question I was going to ask about, like, could he just drop another My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
Well, that's what I was going to say. My first answer was no. But if he were to drop another classic album, I think that you would have more people trying to, get back into those leases on Kanye Allen, right? But his music has got progressively worse over the past 10 years. Like each album, we've listened to all of his music since then, and he's had some really good moments. I still think that Kids See Ghosts was one of the best albums of the last like 5 or 6 years, but he's also had some like what the fuck was that moments too.
The album before that he released, the one in that oeuvre, whatever you call it, of albums that Kids See Ghosts was a part of, his personal album was horrible.
Yeah, and so and again, that we talk about the old Kanye, the musical Kanye. I mean, in that summer, he dropped Kids See Ghosts. He produced Pusha T's album, which was a really good album, right? He produced Nas' album, which was okay. But he still has that part in him, that musicality. If he can access it, that hasn't been completely lost. I don't think. But it's just been overwhelmed by all this other shit that is happening inside of him. But yeah, and even your point about the fashions. I mean, I don't own a pair of Yeezys, and it is not for like any like fuck Kanye reason. I've never bought any, but you're right. The shoes are everywhere, and in the clothes thing. I mean, I don't know if that Balenciaga Gap Kanye line has been released yet. I don't know if that's actually gone on sale yet. I haven't kept up, but I know that when it does, it's going to sell out in like 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it will. It might not be us buying it, but all the hype beasts, all of the cool kids, all of them are going to be buying those clothes.
Well, one of the cool kid arguments has always been that the clothes are terrible. So even in the hype beast community, there's not a tremendous amount of love for.
But that didn't stop people from buying them ugly bubble jackets.
Yeah, but they only made like. Yeah, I mean, right. And part of that was the exclusivity, though. They only made like a certain number of those things. Like it was the release of all that was a mess. But yes, I mean you're not wrong about that. I mean I don't disagree. I thought, and I'm one of the people that thought the Gap partnership was a great one. I thought it was going to basically change everything, like Kanye stamping Gap clothing, which I thought at the time was kind of out of fashion anyway. Like I didn't view it as a cool kid attire anymore. That completely changed the trajectory of Gap as part of the cool kid stuff. But as you know, that's falling apart. He's nobody at Gap is a big fan of Kanye right now. Same with Adidas, who he's accused of raping his ideas and stealing his ideas and creating fashions and items that look just like his stuff to sell. And I mean, look, there's an argument to be made there, but I'm wondering what his contract looked like. Did the contract say we cannot create anything that resembles even a little bit anything? So I don't know.
I mean, I feel like at some point, we've talked about this before, he has to make a connection between I don't read and I hate every contract that I've ever signed. Like those two things, like maybe you should read. Yeah. And we both have had to sign like contracts that are filled with like legalese, and no regular person can understand any of that shit. But it is, I feel like, just almost like a perfect allegory.
Yes, I agree.
For him and for his behavior. I don't read, but all these things that are required to have been read, I am upset with them after a year because I did not know what was in them. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty much, I don't know. Like maybe it's a short break. I don't know. I'm kind of out on this Kanye right now. Like I said, the shirt for me was just a bridge too far. Like it's something about that, seeing him wearing that stuff or creating it in the first place for presentation to kind of mock and gaslight, and then the things he's posted about which show that he did more proof he doesn't read. Like, it's been proven that Black Lives Matter was a scam and all. It's like, if you want to argue about the organizational end of it, that's fine. The statement itself, I think, holds up, bro. Like, so you putting this shirt on you putting the statement on a shirt flies directly to that. It's not, you're not fighting the organization or lack thereof of Black Lives Matter and all of that. You are literally printing the shirt for white supremacists to wear when they need, formal wear. Like, you're literally providing, an outfit.
Some high fashion.
Like you literally just gave, right. You created a space where idiots like yourself who think they're free thinking are going to be like, I'm going to rock this because I'm provocative too, and I can't be constrained to put in a box. But then if you're wearing the same shirt that the KKK might also approve, like, who won? You know what I'm saying? Like when you, it's a weird. I don't know. It's a.
I might be wrong, but I doubt you're going to see anyone outside of hype beastie motherfuckers wearing those shirts.
You're probably right. I mean, who knows how much they would cost anyway? Yeah,
I think that the right wing MAGA crowd uniform, they have the Under Armour. Like Under Armour, I don't know if Under Armour, like if that was a decision that they made at the corporate level, or if there was a meeting with all the right wing, like if they had their little happy hour or whatever and decided, maybe Under Armour sponsored it and they're like, you know what, these Under Armour people are some cool folks. Let's just wear all their apparel. But I feel like there is no more, I guess, accurate way of like just profiling someone who has that sort of political ideology than the Under Armour apparel. And Under Armour has all the flag motifs and all the American flag colors and all that. And when you go to the gym, the white boys who are decked head to toe in Under Armour are usually the aggro white boys who are, Capitol stormers. Like it's uncanny. Well,
just as a point of note, Steph Curry is also signed to Under Armour along with a very substantial number of black athletes of all stripes.
That's probably why Draymond punched Jordan Peele. He saw that Jordan was like,
I can't wait till we find out what was behind that. But that's also
he hit him.
He did. He took off on him. It was very substantial.
Teammates fight. Like, he was like, "Yo, I'm trying to hurt this." Like
I'm surprised. Yeah,
that's a sucker punch too. Because when you're in a shoving match with a teammate, you're not expecting them to sock the shit out of you.
Yeah,
like
I'm surprised.
They elbow you, but he hit him like you would hit someone that you're trying to injure.
Yeah, I'm surprised the full brawl didn't break out, and it just makes Andre Iguodala's statement nonsensical that this was just some in-house stuff. Like, nah, that was. But anyway, so we're gonna take a quick break here, and then we're gonna come back with my favorite segments here at Dear Culture. We're gonna do a black fashion, which I hope you have, and a black commendation. And then we're going to let you talk about where everybody can find everything that you're doing right here on Dear Culture.
The GRIO Black Podcast Network is here. Everything you've been waiting for. Black culture amplified. Find your voice on the Black Podcast Network. Listen today on the GRIO mobile app and tune in everywhere great podcasts are heard.
All right, we're back here on Dear Culture. We just got finished talking Kanye West. Still joined by Damon Young. We were discussing all things Kanye the past few weeks and all that. But to close the show out every week, we do an interesting, fun discussion with our guests. We bring up Black Fashions, which is a confession about some part of your blackness that people might be surprised to know. But we also topped it off with a black recommendation to bring it all back home. So we're going to start with a black fashion. Damon, do you have a black fashion?
I do.
All right.
It's embarrassing.
Okay.
Now, I actually maybe have written about this before, but I haven't actually said this out loud. I don't think on anything. But there was a very popular word that Black people use, that particularly Black people who are connected to the church use, and they use it sometimes in a church context, and sometimes in just a regular mundane everyday context. It starts with Holly, and then it has a second part of that word.
Okay.
I literally cannot pronounce that word.
You can't say hallelujah?
I cannot. I'm not even going to.
You gonna give us a? You gonna take a shot? Are we gonna get to hear this?
Hallelujah! Like when my tongue my tongue does something when after the hallelujah, and my tongue just stops, and it's like, yo, what the fuck are you doing to me? Right? It's like my tongue is being tased whenever I try to say that word. Like I have said it before, but after like 20 tries, like hallelujah, hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah.
There you
Hallelujah.
go. Nailed it.
Okay, and that took five tries.
It took
Right?
some work.
So it's not a word that I'm ever going to just pull up in regular conversation for any reason, because I can't. My mouth just won't let me say it. And again, whenever I think about this, I feel like 7.2% less black, because I just feel like I might be the only on earth who cannot say that word.
Well, that is an interesting black fashion. I've had some interesting ones here, but that is an interesting one. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that struggle of yours. Must make church real interesting.
I have felt less Christian. Like I felt like, is this a sign that God is telling me I don't need to be here, or I need to be here more often? If I can't.
Oh,
say
by
this
here
word.
you mean church, not the planet.
Yeah, the church. Okay, church, not like Earth. But
right, got you. Okay,
you don't need to be in my house if you can't say the password.
Fair enough. Well, to counter that, we like to let our guests bring a black recommendation, which is a recommendation about something by, for, and about blackness, black culture. Do you have a black recommendation for the people?
Yeah, my black recommendation definitely. And it's Love Life season 2. Like I do not feel like enough people are talked about that show. And I think that a show like that maybe doesn't get as many critical lauds. Because it's a relatively light lift. It's like, okay, we're just showing these two people who fall in love, and they have friends, and they have trials and tribulations, and they live in New York City, and they're both like youngish and attractive-ish and whatever. But that has been tried a lot, right? That same formula has been tried a lot and tinkered with a lot. But this was the best version I've ever seen of it, because it's a secretly, subtly heavy lift. Because when you want to depict something that is so mundane, there's a high bar for reality.
Right.
There's a high bar for a natural chemistry, for a natural, conversation, for natural events and progression of behavior. And so, very often when this sort of thing is attempted to be depicted on film, it doesn't feel natural. Like you're watching it and you're thinking, okay, this character, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't feel real. This person wouldn't have done this in this circumstance. These two people don't belong together, right? But with this show, everything felt natural, right? And that's a testament to the writing. That's a testament to the writing. That's Sam Boyd, and there's a black woman who Rachel. Oh man, what is her? I can't believe, because we're friends on IG now. I'm blanking on her name. Or Rachel Williams.
Okay.
Rachel Williams, right? And it's a testament to the writing that they were able to create something that was so authentic and funny and sweet and just felt. This felt real. Like the moments when you were supposed to cringe, I cringed. The moments you were supposed to, feel something in your gut, I felt something in my gut. The things that were supposed to be funny were funny. They weren't even like meme funny, where it's like it's the performance of humor instead of actual humor. These things were actually funny. And so, my strongest recommendation is for people who haven't seen season 2 of Love Life. And also, just to clarify, each season of that show has a completely different theme, completely different cast. And so I've recommended this show to people before, and they naturally started at season 1, thinking
Which
that
is not the same show.
Yeah, and
it's not. It's not.
You can do that, but you don't have to start at season 1 at all. You could just start season 2, episode 1 when you start watching it. So So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good Black recommendation. I really enjoyed that show. I think you enjoyed it more than I did, but I entirely understand. We talked about it ad nauseum when you started watching it, because I think I watched it first. I think because I remember I came across it. A friend of mine told me about it because of Jessica Williams. He was in love with the Mia Jones, I think.
Yeah, I actually think you told me about it, and I had heard from other people. And then I decided to watch it. And Jessica Williams, I've never been a huge fan. I've never disliked her or anything like that, but I've never been a huge Jessica Williams person. But I thought she was perfect in this.
Yeah, she was great.
Perfect in this.
She was great. She did a really good job. She was also great in Intergalactic, the Kid Cudi, the recently released Kid Cudi film, which I love. But I'm also a huge Kid Cudi fan, so he can do no wrong, and it turns out he can't even do wrong making an animated film, because that joint was awesome. But all right, so Damon, we want to thank you for coming here on Dear Culture and talking Kanye with me. When I thought about doing a discussion about Kanye, I was like, well, you and I talk about him all the time. Probably one of the most constant conversations we have, both as writers and just as people talking about artists that we love and the music and stuff that we love. So, I appreciate you. Tell people where they can find everything that you're doing now, because it's all over the place. But go ahead, where can people find the Damon Young experience?
And one thing too, really quickly, one last thing about Kanye, and I think this is one of the things that is disappointing for us, is that he's one of the artists who is our age. You know what I mean? He's a year, 2 years older than us.
He's a year older than we are.
So you have Kanye, you have Beyonce, you have Usher. In terms of the people who are oh shit, they are our age. And to see one of them just have this, to fall off like this in this manner is just really I don't know, because we don't really, I mean, who else is there that
I think we took him on, even though he was the college dropout, he was the college one of us, of the rappers before rappers became suburban kids who just were really talented. He was one of the few who seemed like he was outside the mold, but he genuinely represented the life that I think a lot of us were familiar with or could at least understand. There was, all of us weren't selling drugs or on the block. We could all spit all the verses on Only Built for Cuban Links, but I can't say that I was, moving weight as Raekwon and Ghost were doing. I didn't have that fish scale.
Are you sure about that?
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
It just seemed like Kanye was more for us than he was an artist that was in our lane, the young professional lane, and it felt like the music that spoke to us. So for him to make such a 180 or what seems to be a 180 just feels so. I think disappointing is the right word. I haven't used that word yet at all. But I think that's probably what it is for me. It's the disappointment of it all that I think keeps rearing its head. He finds new ways to disappoint me. I'm a parent who keeps giving the kid an opportunity over and over again, and then he finds a new way to do it. And at some point, the kid is actually 21 years old, and you got to let him go.
So I was thinking the other way. I was thinking he's like Will's dad on The Fresh Prince. He's Ben Vereen, just finding new ways, and then it's me and you just hugging.
Why don't he want me, man?
Why don't Kanye love us, man?
There's an article. Why don't Kanye love us, man? Why doesn't Kanye love us? That is an article waiting to be written. Perfect. There's a chapter in your next book. Anyway, so tell people where can they find everything you're doing.
Okay, they could. I have 2 weekly columns in the Washington Post right now. A weekly magazine column where I riff on whatever, anything from spotted lanternflies to my experience crossing the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And I also have an advice column that drops every Friday where people write in and ask me stuff, and I answer them. And I guess that's what I do. Also have a podcast. Stuff with Damon Young. We completed season 1 in the spring, and I'm actually later today going to sit in on a meeting to discuss season 2, which will be coming. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's coming soon. You could also, I'm Damon Young BSB on IG, on Twitter, and What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker is still in stores. Let me move. You can see the cover right there.
Yep.
All right. So go wherever they sell books. Go cop it. Read the tragic comic exploration of the angst, anxieties, and insecurities of existing while Black in America. Right. It's a funny book. It's also like a deeply vulnerable, deeply self-conscious, deeply anxious, deeply neurotic. But all the things that make me, I guess, and you will find in that. And I think you'll find in all the rest of my work, too, because I'm a nasal gaping motherfucker right now. Right? I just talk about what is happening in here, and I try to figure out a way to put it on the page. So,
well, I can co-sign the book and all the work that you've done. Not only a friend, but I'm a fan of your work, obviously. I don't think we've been working together for as long as we did if we weren't fans of one another, so I think that goes without saying. So, my brother, appreciate you. Thank you for joining me here, Dear Culture, the first of what will be presumably many more times, as the things that we've talked about for years keep rearing their heads in interesting ways. And thanks to everybody for listening to Dear Culture. Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you download the theGrio app, where you can get all the content from theGrio, especially this podcast and all the other amazing podcasts that are part of our theGrio Black Podcast Network. If you have any questions, suggestions, concerns, email scams, money that you'd like to send, make sure you send that. Make sure you put my name on it at podcast@theGrio.com. Dear Culture is an original podcast of the theGrio Black Podcast Network. The show is produced by Sasha Armstrong. It is edited by Jesse Vargas. And Regina Griffin is our managing editor of podcasts. Thanks for listening. Have a black one.